And it's raining. Always raining. Welcome back, guys. I think this is episode 15 of the Lethians Test Plaque Please Ignore Server Play series. I didn't flub that line or anything. I totally scored and nailed it. Whatever the saying is. So, last episode we made this beauty of a big reactor. Oh, and you can see it just kicked on for a second there. If we look at it, we can see that we have some power in our buffer here, about 90%, because it will turn on at 90% and then off when it gets higher than that. It is, I have not added anything more than 32 yellorium ingots when we made the thing yesterday. We have depleted 3% of that, I guess. So, barely any. And that has been reprocessed in our cyanite reprocessor, sent into our AE system. And we can find it here in the form of a plutonium ingot. There is one more thing we have to do. I did a little mining to get the Certus quartz I needed to make this precision export bus. We are going to tell it to export yellorium and plutonium into our reactor. So we're now topped up 100% full on fuel, and that's because it took yellorium and plutonium from our AE system and put it into the reactor. I also switched up our planter so that it would plant ender lily seeds. I did this because we have a pretty big need for ender pearls. We need those to make the power cables we are using to run power through our base. And now that we have a good power generator, I want some more of that cable so I can run power to each quarter of our base. You can also see that I moved things around here, and that is because I added upgrades. This upgrade means that rather than planting a 3x3 area, we are planting a 9x9 area, I believe. And so I had to move the harvester back accordingly and give it a similar upgrade. I did this just because we had more than 9 ender lily seeds and I wanted to plant them all at the same time. So, this episode I thought we would do something a little different. It's something that I have been looking forward to having running for quite some time. And that is advanced genetics. It is going to make us a much more powerful force to be reckoned with. Of course, first, I will sleep away this rain and nighttime, hopefully. Well, the nighttime definitely, the rain hopefully. I also made myself a seat. I was sitting AFK here for a while, and if you are in a seat, you do not use any food. Although I actually don't think you use food if you don't move anyway. I don't know. I just want it to be in a seat. At some point, I'll make a more luxurious one, but for right now, I'm focused on some more important things than interior decorating. So, advanced genetics. You see I've got it up here in NEI. To start with this mod, we need to make a scraper. And that is an iron ingot and stone rods. We're going to make a few scrapers. Because they take durability damage and will eventually break. So the basic the basic mechanism behind advanced genetics is that you take samples from various mobs in the game, and you can use those samples to give yourself advanced traits. So, if we take samples of chickens, eventually we should be able to get a gene from them for not taking fall damage. That sounds like a pretty useful gene. We can get genes that allow us to produce milk, make us faster, make it so that we can shear ourselves, I think. I don't quite recall how this one works, but yes, it gets us wool. We can eat grass to restore hunger, jump higher, breathe water, all sorts of things. Flying, unfortunately, is disabled because it enabled creative mode flight at any given time, which was a little bit overpowered. And by a little bit, I mean quite a lot. I would also get this teleporter gene. Unfortunately, it works by throwing an ender pearl, and the Staff of Traveling is so much more convenient because it lets us teleport through things. Okay, but to start the mod, we need to use the scraper. When we scrape a creature by, I believe, right-clicking on them with the scraper, yes, we get skin scales. The processing of these skin scales is what is going to bring us into the mod. Of course, it also deals damage to the mob every time you do this, every time you scrape them, just a half heart, but it's enough to, for example, make this chicken run away from me, which is being horribly inconvenient. Get back here, chicken. I want quite a few skin cells if I can get them. Skin scales. Okay. And we have tapped that chicken for all it is worth. As you can see, skin scales do not stack, which can make collecting a lot of them kind of a hassle. Eventually we will get into alternate methods of that. Okay, now that we have some skin scales though, this is going to be a tongue twister of an episode, I can tell already. We need to process them. I don't entirely remember the order of things. Let's look to see what some of these machines require. Alright, so I believe the first machine we need is the DNA analyzer. For that we will need, gotta actually open up our AE system. We will need a magnifier, and then it gets surrounded. I'm also going to want, well, okay, we'll just use a chest and a duct for now. And we'll need to make a lever. There we go. Okay, for the time being, I am not going to set up a room for this. Once we sort of look at all the machines that we are going to use, we will figure out how much space it's going to take and make a room then. So, for the time being, I'm just going to come up here to the solar panels on the roof, and we will draw power from them and do all of our advanced genetics here. The major resource that advanced genetics uses is power, although I believe it also uses a significant number of diamonds. So it does take a little bit to set it up. One thing you might wonder is, have I yet connected this power line to our big reactor? No, I have not, because I'm waiting on some of those ender pearls to get enough cable to do it. If power becomes a big issue, we can move down to the basement and do some genetics there. I just prefer the outside when I can. One of my goals with this base design and for the series and just for playing Minecraft in general is to spend as little time underground as possible. I always seem to set up basically everything important in a basement though, so this playthrough I'm trying very hard to stay out of the basement. Okay, so now we have our DNA analyzer. If we put some skin scales in, it will slowly analyze them. So, there is an upgrade we can give these machines called an overclocker. The overclocker will make them go faster, and I think we can install, if I remember correctly, 8 overclockers per machine. So that is something we are definitely going to do eventually. When you run your DNA analyzer, you will get 2 things out of it: a cell and an organic drop. We need quite a few cells to get started. That will help us make the basic DNA dictionary, which is in turn used to make almost all of the machines we will actually use in the mod. This is why I brought our chest, lever, and pipe. This way we can take all of our skin scales, of course, put them here, and have them analyze while we are away. Of course, I made an oversight. We will also need to take the completed products out. So we will need, yes, 1 more lever. Okay. Whew. Sometimes the function of that staff of traveling is a little slow for my taste. But what are you going to do? It is very fast when it works. It's interesting that that takes out the cell, but it does not take out the drop. Oh well, that will collect drops for us. In the meantime, I think it would be worthwhile to start collecting samples from creatures that have useful genes. So we are going to see if I can do this by memory. I've played a little with advanced genetics in the past, so at some point or another I've known what each creature has in the way of genes. Let's go through the list and see if I can't remember which creature carries that gene. So no fall, I believe, is the chicken, which we have already gotten cells from. I don't really much care whether we get infinite milk or not. Speed, though, is something that I very much desire. We're going to bring out our hang glider for long distance travel. The speed gene is carried by horses. And if I remember correctly, yes, there's a step over here that should have some horses in it. Of course, it's also nighttime, which I completely failed to take into account because I am not used to having to think about the day and night. That's okay. We are well armored. And well armed. Ooh, finally got one of those blue creepers before it could explode. Oh, hello, zombie. It's almost a hassle that I got so much knockback on this sword. At some point we will have to do something about that. Oh, goodness, of course, you have foals. Okay, I understand that they are not real creatures, but I am going to go find some different horses that do not have babies standing with them. Like this pair. I am sorry for slowly killing you by scraping the flesh from your frame. Hey, I guess maybe you'll survive the ordeal. Okay. We already have plenty, I think. So go about your day. Let's head back home and put these cells into our analyzer, analyzer. And of course I also forgot that at night the solar panels will be useless, so let's head back to bed and get that working again. Okay, now we have a few cells. We can move on to the next machine. First, we need to make a basic DNA dictionary. I'm going to go get a stack of books. And just so we don't have to keep coming back here, potentially, no, we'll have to come back for items anyway. Okay, let's make it here. Get some cells and a book to get the basic DNA dictionary. The next machine that we will need is, I believe, the DNA extractor. Okay, so first we will need a hopper. then we can make our DNA extractor. Okay, we will empty this. For the time being, we will take the chest out, put the extractor here. So, when you add a cell to the DNA extractor, it processes it and gets from it a helix, if I am not mistaken. Yes. The helix has a code that we cannot read. To read it, we will need a DNA decryptor. So let's make one of those. Oh, okay. It is everyone. Okay. DNA decryptor. Let's actually set the chest back up. Oops. Okay. There we go. This way we can keep getting more of these cells, which we will need a lot of. Okay. DNA decryptor. Take a basic DNA dictionary, add paper and iron, get a decryptor. Whew. I'm getting better at that, I think. So, the decryptor can take a gene and allow you to see what it codes for. If I remember correctly, F17 AAA codes for nothing. It is what is called a basic gene, which can be used later on to, if I remember correctly, complete other genes so that you can actually use them, but itself serves no purpose. Let us... Okay, I am going to keep putting cells into the extractor until I get something that is not a basic gene. And I'll be right back. And here we go. We have something that is not just F17 AAA, but has another gene as well. This came from a horse, I believe. So it's either jump or speed, both of which are very desirable. And we decrypt it, and we can see jump. Okay. Jump, as you might expect, lets you jump higher than normal. Once we've decrypted it... Ooh. Okay, now I actually forget what we do next. Sorry. Give me just a minute to refresh myself. It has been a while. Okay. Next is the DNA splitter. For that, we will need another dictionary. And looks like it will also need a diamond. Let's see. There we go. The DNA splitter will allow us to split the genes in this helix. So as you can see, it has both jump and a basic gene. If we put this in, we can select the gene we want to isolate. In this case, we very much want to isolate jump. Once we've isolated the gene, it will become an incomplete gene. So a gene jump, but it doesn't say complete. These all say completed. In order to complete it, we have to add additional genes. So I am going to take these helices, the plural of helix, and once I have a bunch of them, I will come back and show you the next step. Okay, I've got a few more genes, and found the no-fall gene as well. That'll be nice. So let's make the next machine that we need, which is called the DNA breeder. Wait, first we will need... What? Okay, here we go. Ugh. Sorry. Okay. We will need another of these DNA dictionaries, and then we can get our breeder. The DNA breeder is the machine that's going to allow us to take these incomplete genes and complete them. So, if we put our no-fall gene in the right, we can see how many genes we need to add to it to have it work. So it looked like 16 and 16. I am actually interested in getting... Well, we'll try the jump gene first. Now, each basic gene we add will increase our count by 1. However, if we add a gene of the same type, we will increase our count by 2. So I am going to make sure I get enough basic genes to bring us up to 16. And I'll be right back once I have done that. Okay, now we have a completed jump gene. I also added overclockers to each of these machines, which has made them much faster. But they do draw a significant amount of power. The next thing we will need to do after we have bred it is centrifuge some of our DNA. To do that, we will need syringes and another basic DNA dictionary. After we centrifuge, we'll need to use a DNA combiner. So while I'm at it, I should get one of these too. So let's see, that's 4, 8, so we'll need 10 total cells. Well, that's too bad, I don't have enough cells at the moment. Okay, I will make these machines and get the cells to do it and be right back. Okay, I have my centrifuge, I have my DNA combiner, and I also managed to finish my no-fall gene. So the next step is to take a sample of our own blood. To do that, we hold a syringe, hold down right-click, and release. Momentary blindness, but that's okay. We next have to centrifuge, and we can then combine it with a gene. After it has been combined, we need to centrifuge it once more. So now it is a filled centrifuged syringe with a trait in it. That one happened to actually be the no-fall trait. So if we use it again on ourselves, we get a nausea effect. But once that is gone, we no longer take fall damage. So you see I took off my long fall boots. They're off now. I can go up as high as I like. Drop down. And take no damage. This trait will stay with us until we die, but we have some provisions we can take to make sure that even if we do, we can quickly gain it back. So let's do the same for the jump gene. Take the blood, syringe the blood, combine it with the jump gene, syringe it one more time, and inject. Whew. Those pack a punch. Now, if we take our jetpack off, you will notice that we are jumping higher than we otherwise would. So here's a fence. We shouldn't be able to jump over it. We have no jetpack on, but in fact we can. It's actually not too much higher. It's 2 blocks instead of 1. So let's do a jump test. Here's a 2-block high wall. We can jump on top of it. But that can be all you need in many cases to get from place to place. But we'll still want our jetpack. It's not quite flying, and we'll wear the long fall boots for now because they provide some armor. But we should note that if we find better boots that do something else that we might want, we should feel free to switch. Well, there are a number of different genes that I will try to track down between this episode and next. Some that I am particularly interested in are speed, which I'm now recalling is from ocelots, not horses. Another is water breather from squids. And swim in lava, which I believe comes from zombie pigmen. As you can see, there are very many more. But for the time being, well, I'm going to see what I can get. I will also probably set up a room for this and get some item ducts and hoppers and what have you in place so that I can throw a skin scale in here and have it go all the way to the DNA breeder ready for me to use, or as close to that as I can manage. If I recall correctly, there's some weird stuff going on with the item IDs in this mod, and so it can be difficult to actually move around the various scales and genes and helices without doing it manually. But I'll automate it as much as I can. Well, I think that's it for today. We've started on what's a really neat mod, and next episode I think you'll probably get to see more fruits of that labor. But until then, I'm the Lethean. Thanks for watching.